In today's video, we're going to turn this Ogre Maw Tribe Spearhead into a gross, Nurgle corrupted horror show. Let's get into it. So the thought behind this is I wanted to take this spearhead and actually a larger size army I've been working on and try to Nurglefy it. Do some light kit bashing, some work in Blender, make it a custom looking thing through parts, but also the paint job. A lot of this kit bashing / Nurglification will come through in the paint, but I knew that the kit bashing parts would also be important. So first off, what I did was I went out and searched for some 3D files I could use for kit bashing, and I stumbled upon this set. This is the Vile Corrupted Builder from Adamant Arsenal. Link down below if you want to check this out yourself. Just going through the pictures here, there's some great Nurgle-esque weapons. I really like the torsos, but what really grabbed me was right here, these belly armor plates. This is the main thing I wanted this set for. So the goal here will be in Blender to somehow get these belly plates, this one with the mouth, this one with the guts falling out of it, take these and remove them from the torsos. Because if we go over to the Ogre sculpts really quick, we can see that a lot of them have this belly plate armor here. So the goal will be to try to get this Nurgle plate onto where the plate would be on the Ogres, and that will be the big main conversion, kind of an eye-grabbing thing on some of the models. Not going to do them on all of them, but enough that we get a good vibe going. Now let's go into Blender and start working on these. Now Blender can definitely be a pain to use. It took me a long time to figure out really how to use it for my means. I am in no way near an expert in Blender, and I'm sure I'll get plenty of comments saying, hey, you did this wrong, or you should do it like this. Please let me know. I'm always trying to learn. I have the very basic understanding of it for what I need it for, and that's very, very light modeling. Normally putting things together, cutting things up, stuff like that. Luckily, there's a ton of great videos out there on YouTube. I'm going to put some up right here where I honestly learned everything I use, and you guys should check them out if you haven't really used Blender before. Also, I definitely recommend just some tutorials, like basic how to get around in here. I'll show you what I do, but I'm not really going to go step by step through Blender. That's not this video. So again, what we're trying to do here is rip off these belly torsos from these models. I loaded 3 of them in right here that I will most likely be using. I think these are the 3 best ones. There's a bunch of other good torsos in this set, but these are pretty simple to cut the torsos off of, so we're going to start here. Also in Blender here, I have a belly plate from a scan of the Ogre models I'll be working on. Yeah, what I really just need is the back portion of this model, but I'm going to first show you how I delete things from a model. So the steps go, I will go up to the Add drop-down, Mesh, and then Cube. Once I've loaded my cube in, I'll use the Scale function on the left-hand side, also the S button to scale the cube to the size I need it for to delete. So I'm just going to get it to the size I want, and I'm going to move the model around to get it to the correct depth that I want. Basically, all the functionality you would need is on the left-hand side of your Blender screen, and you just move it around with the cursor. Now I have it to the correct depth. What I'm going to do is go over to the right-hand side of the Blender screen to the small taskbar in the right middle, and I'm going to move my mouse down to the little gear sign, which is the modifiers. So for the Add Modifier screen, we'll go Add Modifier, then we drop down to Generate, then we add Boolean. When you're doing this selection, make sure you have the object selected that you want to add the modifier for. So that would be the belly plate. Now that I have that model selected, here's the screen for the modifiers. This is how you want it set up. You want it set up to difference, and then I keep it at exact. Everything else keep the same. We see our object selected is the belly plate, and then we're going to click on the object we want to remove, which would be the cube. So there's a drop down menu and we click cube. Next we go over to the little check mark and we click it and we hit apply. This will now remove the space that the cube took up from the object that is the belly plate. Now this was a little too shallow, so what you can do is you go to edit, undo, you can go all the way back to whatever step you want. And I'm basically just going to go back and redo my depth here because it was a little too thin for what I needed for. Same steps, add modifier, boolean, and then remove that. So now that I have the belly plate set up the way I need it to, I'm just going to start taking basically chunks out of this torso model. So I'm going to do the same thing, move the cube into the correct placing. I'm going to get into the right spot, right depth I needed to. Basically what I wanted to do is just take all the back away, right up to where the belly roll kind of starts on this abdomen. And then that's where I'm going to set my first cut. Same exact steps here, add modifier, generate boolean, and then we're going to make sure our torso is selected, click onto the cube as the difference, and then apply, and that will remove the back of this torso model. And then what I'm going to do is just change the dimensions of the cube and work it around the model to really get rid of any extra, modeling that I don't need, any 3D rendering that I don't need. Using the move and rotate tools, I'll just get the model in place. Quick tip, you definitely want to have the model in the place before you generate the modifier, because once the modifier generation screen is up, your computer could take a long time to, in case you wanted to tweak something, tweak it before, because it will just take forever. For at least me, it takes forever to do any kind of modifications. Last step here, we're just going to put the two models together. So I'm going to line up the belly plate to where it needs to be. If I needed to scale anything, I would use, by the S button I could scale, but I don't need to. This is pretty good lineup as it is. I'm going to make sure the meshes are interacting and over each other. And all I have to click is Control J to join the two pieces, and this will be a solid model. Now these are technically meshes, but we're going to export it to an STL, which should make this whole thing solid, and then it will just go to the printer. Now everything's printed off. I'm just going to start working on my models now. What I'm doing is I'm basically cutting off all weapons from the hands, and I'm removing some of the belly plates from some of the models as well. Again, I'm not doing all of them, I'm doing a few. The models with the guns I'm not going to do a whole lot with. I'm mainly doing the melee weapons for the kit bashing work. Here what I'm going to do is just work with my clippers. I'm going to remove any excess plastic that I don't want from the original models before I start gluing on the 3D printed stuff. So as I glue on all the models, I'm using super glue gel here, and I'm basically just going to stick these belly plates onto the open areas that I cut out. They line up pretty good. I did some good work with my clippers, but there will be some room that I need to fill in. For this, I'll be using epoxy sculpt. A little bit will go a long way here, and I'm just kind of rolling it, thinning it out, and shoving it into any open spaces. This is all, a lot of this is under the model, under the underside of the model, so it's not going to be seen. Another tip when doing this kind of work, you'll see my head come into frame here. What I'm doing is I'm holding some set medium in my dropper in my mouth while I'm using this. So I have the model, I have one hand on the model, one hand on the piece, the glue in the middle, and then I'll touch the dropper, which will let the set fluid run over the connection point and then give me an instant set. So I don't have to spend, hours doing this. Now all the 3D, the kit bashing and 3D parts are coming in. I also printed out some cool little Nurglings. There's a link below where you can get them on Cults, but I just put them around these models for some extra fun stuff, especially the cannon. I thought there was some cool spots to put them, like this guy hanging out right in front of the cannon about to get blown apart. Next step, what I did here was mix some dark purple or plum in with Vallejo Surface Primer Black. I'm going to give the entire model a coat of this. This will be my primer. It's nice and dark, a great way to set because we're going into some green tones, so a nice under purple should be nice for that. Next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some black mixed in with some Caliban green, so very dark green to start my zenithal. I'm going to put this all over the skin, shooting from above. Then I'll quickly move on to Death Guard green And then I'll also mix some ice yellow into the Death Guard green to continue hitting the skin with a sort of zenithal. The ice yellow step, I'm mainly focusing on parts of the muscles that I'm going to have light hitting. It gives me a nice gradient here for the skin. Now that the skin has good coloring on it, we're going to do some gore effects. I'm going to start off with some speed paint and contrast paint to the airbrush, so Slaughter Red. I'm also going to be using Plague Bearer Green. So these are just some aspects of the fence. Anywhere there was skin or flesh, I'm just going to kind of shoot this generally in an area, give it some depth, give it some tinting, and it really helps for the grossness of it. After all this airbrush work, we're just going to simply paint the rest of the bits in. I'm going to use dark brown for leathers. I use gunmetal gray mixed with brown ink for any metallics, and bronze will be for any bronze bits, but everything's pretty general at this point. For the wash, it's going to be pretty simple. Anything that's green or brown is going to get a dark brown, brown-black wash, pretty heavy over everything. That's including metallics. If there's any skin, like guts or skin out, I'm going to use that in a dark purple wash. So that one's going to be pretty thin down. And I also do a little accent washes here and there with a kind of greenish yellow. We're just trying to get sickly effects here. I will be cleaning these models up pretty well with a sponge after this, but I really wanted to get a heavy wash in there to really grime these down. You know, Death Guard, Nurgle, Nurgleites, you know, you can really go pretty hard with the wash and it'll always look good. After our drying phase, I gave all of our models a quick coat of matte varnish through spray can. I just like to seal my oil in this way, and when I'm painting over it, I'll be able to get smooth transitions. Here's our models looking like after everything's dried, looking pretty grim, pretty dark, and now we're going to focus on bringing some of that color back. First, I'm going to start off with a dry brush. Working on the skin, I'm going to start off with that Death Guard green again, mixing a little more and more ice yellow in, and also lime green to kind of bring back some color and some highlight to these models of the skin. This is a pretty general once over, just to hit the main parts of the skin. I'll come in later with some more brush work. In my head, the skin and any kind of guts will be the main focal point of these models, so that's when I put my time in for this. As for everything else on the model, I'll do a quick dry brush of everything else. These were kind of, I got these done quick, so anything that's brown, I'm going to do flat earth, nice neutral flat earth over. Metallics, I'm going to do a neutral, like lead belcher, just to get the tips. Again, they're Nurgle, they're supposed to be gross. I'm not going to be highlighting every single bit and bob of these units, but we're going to make sure we bring some color and definition back. As you're working your way through these models, if you're following along here, remember, we just really want to make sure we're focusing on the eye-catching parts. If you want to put time in every single part of the model, totally up to you. I knew what I wanted to get across. I wanted to make sure that the Nurglings popped for where they were, had them in fun parts, made them look good. I wanted the skin to look gross, green. I know they kind of look a little Shrekish, but, you know, it works. Here I'm just going to go with the brush and start working to the finest details with the skin. So this constitutes the green Nurgle skin, but also any kind of regular flesh I'm going to work on. I'm going to put some more time into this and make sure my highlights are well in pop for this. And there you have it. Pretty easy, besides like the preemptive like kit bashing work, pretty simple paint scheme to give these guys a Nurgle look, but I think it definitely sets them apart from really any other Ogre Maw Tribe you'll see out there. The weapons definitely help. It gives it that vibe. Also, the little Nurglings give it a little fun. It's not so grim and dark. They're kind of silly, but I think they really work on these models. And yeah, everything, like I said, all STLs, I'll put them down below if you guys want to check them out. All great creators, you should support them. And if you like the video, please like, subscribe, share. Let me know about my Blender fortitude and how great I am at it. I know I'm not, but hey, it works. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.